Good morning, everyone. It's Monday. I'm so excited to share with you today. We have the Gateway Chamber Orchestra music director, Greg Wolynec. I'm so happy to see you this morning. How's it going this morning?
Terrific. How are you doing, Donna?
Doing good, doing good. Got a little wet. I was out early this morning. Still a little rain out there.
My wife and I keep looking at our herb garden thinking, is it time to get this thing started or not? I'm not sure yet.
Oh, I was talking about this morning in the gym. They say that after Mother's Day, you're safe to plant. So
That's
if
what they
that
say.
helps you. Yeah. I haven't planted any flowers yet, so those driving by, I'll get my flowers now. Let's talk about the Gateway Chamber. Like most events in orchestras and bands and artists, you've had to cancel your events up for last year. Tell us what the last year was like for you guys.
Well, we, in the spring of 2019, we had unveiled two brand new events. One of them was an informal concert that we held at South Hall Meadow called Barbecue, Brews, and Beethoven. It was an opportunity for musicians and patrons to mingle with some craft beer, barbecue, music. We were just coming up on the second installation of that, and maybe even more grand in terms of aspirations. We had our first of what has become our annual America's Haydn Festival. It's a festival that's dedicated to the music of the great Viennese composer Franz Joseph Haydn. And we were just in the final stages of preparation and about to roll out the second installment of that last year with performances in Clarksville and Franklin, a string quartet that performed in historic churches on Thursday night for Art Walk here and Friday night for Art Crawl in Franklin, and then Sunday afternoon in the Mcbride Concert Hall and Monday evening in the Franklin Theater with the chamber orchestra and our chorus, as a matter of fact. And then, of course, the world got turned on its head. We canceled the spring events. We looked at optimistically postponing things for May into October, and those didn't come to pass. So really, we found ourselves in a very unusual space where, first of all, the orchestra musicians were among people in the entertainment industry were so profoundly affected by the pandemic. We were fortunate that we qualified and received a CARES grant from the National Endowment for the Arts, the NEA. And that was money that was earmarked in order to continue to employ people who might otherwise not be employed. And we also knew that the area public schools were in desperate need for content that could be used either in a remote fashion or potentially live and in person or hybrid models, because nobody knew what the fall of the school year was going to be like. So we put our heads together and we came up with a really exciting and ambitious program that we call Magical Music and Timeless Tales. And what happened is a member of our board who oversees educational and outreach activities, his name is Michael Chandler, he is the professor of music education at Austin Peay State University, came up with a list of about 20 acclaimed children's books. And we provided that list to all of the musicians, the core members of the chamber orchestra, the people that are involved in decision-making and regular participants in the group, and hoping that we would have what we ended up with, which was 12 videos that came out of it. So the musicians chose a book, and then they selected 5 musical works that would help tell that story. And then we paired them up with an elementary classroom music teacher who actually did the narration and created teaching materials that could be used by the schools. And so we were able to film those late summer, early fall. And then over the course of the year, every 2 weeks, we've been releasing those to Williamson County and Montgomery County public schools. And they've been used in the classrooms, targeting grades 3 through 5. So that was the first sort of ambitious project. And those really came out, I think, better than we'd ever expected. It was one of those ready, fire, aim. How do we go about video things? How do we get in touch with the videographer? And as a result of that, I thought, well, 2020 was the 250th birthday for arguably the most important composer in the history of orchestras, and that's Ludwig van Beethoven. And so what we decided to do, all of us, by us, I mean orchestras, we're going to do concerts, festivals, all sorts of things to commemorate that last year.
Right.
And all of them got canceled or postponed. Well, we realized, if we're able to come up with a protocol that would allow us to perform safely, think we could actually provide a virtual concert. So we got the orchestra together at the beginning of December and recorded Beethoven at 250, Humanity in 2020. And so we took music by Beethoven and also looked at some of the things that were so impactful over the past year. We had a work by George Walker, who's the first African-American composer to win the Pulitzer Prize. A terrific young composer, Jessie Montgomery, who wrote a work called Starburst, which we used to commemorate the women's suffrage movement and the ratification of the 19th Amendment. And so that provided us with a second opportunity for musicians to stay actively involved. So that brought us through the holidays and into the new year. And we thought, well, that went well. And in fact, that's still up on YouTube and visible until December of this year. We decided maybe it's time to take that Haydn Festival and let's see what we can do with that in a virtual context. So we reached out to Franz Joseph Haydn is regarded as the father of the symphony and the father of the string quartet. So we reached out to North America's finest string quartet and the best performers and advocates of Haydn's music in the St. Lawrence String Quartet. So they actually created a concert unique for this festival that they recorded in Palo Alto, California on the campus of Stanford University. And then we also reached out to a terrific pianist, a Steinway artist named Henry Kramer, and he recorded over in Columbus, Georgia. And then the chamber orchestra collaborated with longtime partner Anna Chilenza for a children's book. She has a book that tells the story of Haydn's Farewell Symphony. So we recorded a concert designed for families, as well as a Masterworks concert with one of his symphonies. And we had a chance to work with one of our principal cellists, Michael Samus, who's just one of the really terrific emerging talents in this country, to create 4 concerts. So that's what we've been up to this past year.
Well, at least you were able to keep busy. And I love how all these stories I've been hearing in the past year of how people have had to kind of pivot and yet found creative ways to still engage. Because I think all of us enjoy music, whatever genre. And I know for me, I like a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you're able to provide that is amazing.
Well, it's, when the orchestra first started, and we started back in 2008, there was no plan. There was no map. And so whatever we wanted to do, if we could figure out a way to make it happen, it could happen. As time passes and you develop a reputation for having a masterwork series and family concerts, you're able to breathe life into these things. But the ability to sort of create new projects above and beyond, how do you make that work when you have these other obligations? So to some extent, I would never refer to the past year as a good thing for the orchestra, but it has right. certainly provided opportunities for us to pursue some projects that I'm not sure when we ever would have gotten to them. And it's been really exciting.
And I love that you guys did that with the schools. I didn't realize it was elementary children that you were able to do that for. Yeah. What a great way to introduce them to orchestra music if they haven't had that opportunity before.
Absolutely.
And in a setting that, you kind of brought the music to them, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And one of the nice things is that they're able to really get to know and meet individual members of the orchestra who are playing solo pieces along with piano. And then the last one is a wonderful story by John Lithgow called The Fabulous Farkle Mcbride. So that was the one that I got to narrate because young Farkle becomes a conductor. And we used part of the Beethoven symphony that we shot in December to bring the whole group together to finish up the 12th of those episodes.
Wow. Something people may not know, the Gateway Chamber Orchestra, you have several homes. One of your homes you call is the Franklin Theater. So tell us what it means to be a part of Franklin. You mentioned already playing during Art Crawl and those other events, but tell us what it means to be part of Franklin Theater. Yeah,
so I think this year right now would be the 7th season. And with COVID, it's getting hard to sort of keep track of what was the season and what right. wasn't. Maybe it would be the end of the 6th season. We had played a series, our Masterwork series of 4 concerts that we would give in Clarksville. And we're also performing in a series of downtown historic buildings in downtown Nashville. And it was at the point that we were surveying our audience and realizing that the vast majority of the people that came to our downtown Davidson County performances were actually from Williamson County, that I heard from Dan Hayes, the former executive director of the Franklin Theater. It wanted to know whether we'd be interested in potentially bringing our Masterwork series to Franklin. And I grew up in Vermont, a small town, well, second largest city in Vermont, but it's a small town by the rest of the world. And Franklin has that wonderful historic vibe with the downtown, the center square. Just such a beautiful spot. And so when we had a chance to visit the theater, we knew that it was going to be sort of close quarters on stage. But most of the great concert halls in Europe, orchestra musicians have to sit a little bit too close together. And we have found it an incredibly rewarding home. It's been a pleasure getting to know members of the community and developing a really loyal fan base at the Franklin Theater, and then in some of the additional historic performances. The Episcopal Church just down the street has been a wonderful home to the string quartet concert as part of America's Haydn Festival.
Yeah, beautiful. We have some beautiful historic churches in downtown Franklin.
You certainly do.
Yeah. Let's talk about the virtual festival you've mentioned already. It's coming up May 13th through the 23rd. So tell how people can take part in that.
Yeah, so essentially the premiere dates, we've got a Thursday evening and a Sunday matinee for 2 weeks in a row. So the St. Lawrence String Quartet, which is going to be premiering this Thursday at 7:30 Central Time. And again, these will also then be up for 6 months. So by visiting gatewaychamberorchestra.com, and you can follow the links to the Haydn Festival, America's Haydn Festival, there's an opportunity to buy either a weekend pass, which the St. Lawrence String Quartet on Thursday, and then the GCO Family Concert with Anna Chalenza this Sunday, or next weekend, Thursday evening at the 20th at 7:30 is going to feature pianist Henry Kramer, and then the following Sunday, the 23rd, at 3 o'clock, will be the Gateway Chamber Orchestra with Michael Sammis, as well as a world premiere piece by an incredibly talented Middle Tennessee-based composer named Christina Spinet. So those are available as weekend passes for $20 each, or for a complete festival pass for $30. And again, while the premieres are on those 4 days, the content is going to be available for 6 months. And we've got a beautiful digital program that the finishing touches are being put on that right now to give an opportunity to sort of see behind the scenes. And we're also going to have some feature-length interviews with some of the artists. Our host this year is the world-acclaimed radio personality, Bill McLaughlin. This was incredibly special for me. I grew up listening to St. Paul Sunday on public radio. So we had Bill in order to film the interview segments with each of the guest artists, as well as to provide introduction to each of those. So Bill will appear in each and every one of these programs. St. Paul Sunday was the show, I think, that made him famous. And then he's also been broadcasting through Chicago Public Radio, a series called Exploring Music, which has been on, I think, for about 10 years and is broadcast internationally. So Bill is an additional feature that we have to the festival this year. And I'll mention that while the concerts all focus on Haydn, each of the programs will also have at least one work by an underrepresented composer. The St. Lawrence String Quartet, in addition to 2 works by Haydn, is going to perform a wonderful piece by Osvaldo Golijov, who's an Argentinian composer and draws from his native country with some beautiful and energetic music. Henry Kramer is going to feature work by William Grant Still, who is the most influential and earliest of the great African-American composers here in our country. And then we're going to feature a young woman composer named Caroline Shaw, who is the youngest person ever to win the Pulitzer Prize in Music, which is really the highest achievement. She's a terrific string performer, and her work was inspired by playing string quartets by Haydn.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, you guys go check that out. I know you're planning on coming back to the Franklin Theater. You're still working that out, and everybody's trying to get rescheduled and rebooked. We will keep everybody updated with that.
We are so looking forward to being back in our home in Franklin.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much for joining us. You guys, please go check it out. Amazing music. We all need music. We still need the music to keep going. All right. See you soon. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much, Donna.